Hello, I'm Carl Thompson, the founder and creator of AccurateCalculators.com. This tutorial will show you how to create a genuinely accurate amortization schedule. Many online calculators don't allow users to enter dates. When they do, they generally only support entering one. The problem with being able to enter only one date is the resulting schedule assumes that the first payment is due exactly 1 month after the loan closes. But how often does that happen? Like a stop clock is right twice a day, a payment schedule that assumes the borrower pays the first payment precisely 1 month after the closing date may be correct, but only on occasion. For an accurate forward-looking amortization schedule, the user needs to be able to enter both the loan's origination date, that is, the date the loan closes, and the first payment date. Let me show you what I mean. Let's assume a loan of $350,000. Paid off in 180 payments. The interest rate is 6.5%. By the way, stick around to the end of this tutorial. I'll show you some tips for how to enter values that will make the calculators faster to use. For now, we will leave the dates and all other inputs set as they are. Notice the default is for the payment to be paid monthly, with the first payment date due 1 month after the loan closing date. Click Calc, and we see that the monthly payment is $3,048. Now scroll to the end of the schedule and see that the calculator decreases the last payment by $1.25. The final payment adjustment accounts for interest rounding. The calculated payment is optimal for paying off the loan. The final adjustment would have had to been more significant if the regular payment had been a penny less or a penny more over 179 payments. As an aside, with the accurate amortization schedule, you can set the payment to be anything you want. For example, I'll set the payment to $3,050 and recalculate. The calculator creates a new amortization schedule showing the payment entered. The final rounding is adjusted now by $341. Now, let's talk about dates and creating an accurate schedule. As I mentioned, our example's first payment is due 1 month after the loan's origination or closing. But what if the loan had closed on January 11th or February 15th? In either case, the loan's first period would not equal a month, and either the lender should receive additional interest due to a long first period, or the borrower would expect to pay less interest due to a short first period. In these cases, how should the extra interest be collected for a long period, or how should the payment be adjusted for the short period? The Accurate Amortization Schedule calculator provides you with several options. The one you select depends on the terms of the specific loan. Let me show you. I'll change the loan closing date to January 11th. Giving us a long first period with 21 odd days from January 11th to February the 1st. I'll also reset the first payment amount to 0 to indicate it's unknown. Now, recalculate the schedule. Notice the payment amount does not change, still $3,048. But now the schedule shows a new payment of nearly $1,327 paid when the loan closes. This is the payment for the interest due the lender for the first 21 odd days. In the U.S., many banks collect the odd day interest up front. But what if they don't? The calculator gives you other options. Let's go to Settings. Click on Long Short Period Options. You may set the calculator so that the schedule shows the odd day interest paid when the first loan payment is due. I'll set it to With First, save the changes, and click Calc. Our schedule now indicates that the lender is due the odd day interest with the first payment. Let's look at one other option. Suppose the lender is satisfied with not receiving the odd day interest in one lump amount. Can the payment be adjusted so that all payments are for the same amount except for any necessary interest rounding adjustment at the last payment? The answer is yes. Let me show you how to do this. Change the payment amount to 0 to indicate it's unknown. Open up the long-short interest settings. Change it to amortized. Save our changes and recalculate. Rather than the amount being $3,048, the required payment is now $3,060. The first payment row shows the correct interest amount of $3,230, which includes the interest for both the odd days and the entire first month. However, since the payment is not large enough to pay the first month interest due, the loan balance increases by nearly $170. But as required, all payments are the same amount, and the necessary adjustment for interest rounding is $1.22. That covers the long period calculation options except for one. On the outside chance that a lender is willing to forego the interest for the odd days, the user can set the long period option to none. There is one other option that impacts the odd day interest calculation, and that is the days per year option. Let me show you. Remember, the first period interest amount is $3,230. Click on Settings. Select the 360/365 option. Set the days to 365. Click Save Changes and recalculate. Now the interest due is $3,211. What if the loan's closing date is February 15th and the first payment date remains March the 1st? Assuming the borrower still pays monthly, the first period is then a short first period. Let's briefly look at the options available for the short period. But first, I'll set the loan's closing date to February the 15th and the payment amount to 0 and the day per year back to 360. Click on Settings and Long Short First Period, and by default, the accurate amortization schedule will not reduce the regular payment to compensate the borrower for the short period. Instead, the calculator adjusts the last payment to compensate. However, the user can set the calculator to decrease the first or all payments. Let's look at reducing the first payment. Save changes to close the window and recalculate. Notice the payment is reduced to $2,100. That covers the interest calculation options for the accurate amortization schedule. Hopefully you will find it easy to create accurate schedules. All you need is a little understanding and the right tool. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below or on the calculator's page. If you need to create a payment schedule showing the true date the borrower made the payment, use the Ultimate Financial Calculator. Earlier, I promised to show some tips that make it faster to use the calculators. First, you do not need to click on the input to select a number. You can also click on the associated text. Second, once the number is selected, start typing the new number, for example, 450,000. You do not need to try to clear or edit the old value, but backspace will remove the last digit entered if you make an error while typing. Also, you do not need to type the currency symbol or thousand separator. Your computer is smart enough to enter the symbols for you. You only type in numbers and decimal points. We've designed the numeric entry so you do not need to move your hand from the numeric keypad. Once you've selected an input, move to the next input using the Tab key or the prior input using the Shift Tab key. Finally, to quickly change the date to a different year, click on the button to the right of the date, then click on the month, the year, and even the decade. Select the decade, and then the year, the month, and the date. Or you can enter dates by typing only the 8 numbers. So 0, 3, 0, 1, 20, 24, and tab off. That wraps up this tutorial. Thank you for watching.